we're going to go into the various kinds of details, little things here and there that will help the process go smoother and how to implement the parking lot module, and show you some tips and tricks as well. And then we'll want to have some Q&A at the end. Okay, so just to start off, Jose briefly mentioned that we have a couple of different versions of the parking lot module. We have what's considered a standalone parking lot subscription, which is where all you're doing is tracking parking lots in this database. And then we have what's called a mixed mode for parking lots. And that is going to allow you to have your parking lots and your roads all in the same database and kind of seamlessly integrated. And we'll show you what that looks like as well. To start off, we're just going to start out with a fairly blank database. It's got one lot location in it already. It's got a second, or it's got one area ID, and it's got one management section. So I'm going to take you through the whole process here. And the first thing I want to do is I want to describe the relationships of how you would set up your lot locations. So you guys are all familiar, if you've been in StreetSaver for very long, with the Area ID module, or excuse me, the Area ID screen. And I've just set up one here. I'll go ahead and do another real quick. You can set these up so that you basically can use these as you're organizing your lot location. So Area ID could work as like the biggest grouping for your parking lots. And this is kind of what I mean here. So let's say, I'm just going to zoom in here to our map, and I'm going to say this is our northwest. So you can see the central area there. And of course, this is not, you know, any kind of, this is just for demo purposes. So I'm going to kind of relate them this way. I'm going to go ahead and save that. So now I have a northwest, and I have a central area, and this could be however you want to divide up your area. If it's a larger geographic area, this could be like if you're tracking parking lots across states, for example, then you would be able to, you know, set up area IDs accordingly, or across various regions of the state even. So once we have our area IDs in place, then we're going to go look at our actual lot locations. And so if area ID is the top kind of organizational attribute, then underneath that is going to be lot locations. And you'll notice this is a new screen. If all you've ever seen is the pavement roads side of StreetSaver, the what's missing here in this list is the street names or the road name screen, and instead we have lot locations. And that's a really good parallel. You can see over here on the left where I'm pointing with my mouse it's a really good parallel for street names. That's kind of the correlation as far as what this data attribute represents. It's the equivalent of a road name. It's the whole road. And then of course with roads, after you've set up your master list of roads, you go through and sectionalize it with individual management sections along that road. Well, the same principle applies here for lot locations. So I have one here called Central Hub. And I'm going to just do another one for you just to kind of show you what we'll do a couple just to look at what the process looks like. So let's call this our main terminal. Okay, and we'll say lot number 002, and we'll just pick a color. We'll go ahead and save. So now it's in our list, and we see that we have a GPS button. So this is where I can go in and I can draw the area for my main terminal. So here we see Central Hub. So let me go ahead and zoom in here. There we go. Okay, so as I'm coming in, we can see we've got a nice aerial view here of the parking lots in the terminal view. This lets me be able to see exactly what I've got going on. So we've got our tracks. This is probably BART, for example, coming through here, and we've got a terminal. So I'm going to go ahead and select my drawing tool for creating the area of the lot location. And I have some options up here. I can do lines and points, but that wouldn't make much sense. I can draw just a straight rectangle. If by chance the area was able to be grabbed that way, then you could use the rectangle to create the polygon. But instead, I'm going to use the polygon tool because this will let me turn corners and make different shapes. So now that I've selected my polygon drawing tool, I can just click and draw a line. Each time I'm drawing each time I'm clicking, I'm creating a new vertices or corner. And I'm just going to go around our parking area. It's very simple. This doesn't have to be as precise as when we're actually sectionalizing, which you'll see in a little bit. And then to finish the shape, you just double click. Okay, so now I can take a look at it and review. If I don't like it, I can clear and try again. I'm going to go ahead and say save because I like that. Okay, so there's our main terminal lot location. And remember, this is the equivalent of a complete road that still needs to be sectionalized. So now let's go back to our lot locations and let's add another one. Let's call this our annex terminal. And we'll say lot location is 003. Okay. And now we can go set our GPS for it. And so what's showing right now, when you first come to the Map It screen, is you see we have our central hub and we have our main terminal. But this is where Area ID can come into play. We can select our central area and it'll zoom right to the central area ID. And there we can see our lot locations in that area. Now, if I went to the northwest area, we're off we're off in this area now and not seeing all of our central ones. So this is how you can use Area ID to help kind of as a larger grouping of your lot locations. And that's really handy as we'll see on later screens where we're doing like GIS reporting and those types of things, and you can just zoom to an area ID or you can zoom to a specific lot location, etc. So I'll show a little bit more of that at that point. But for now, we need to set GPS for the annex terminal. So I'm going to go ahead and again, I'm selecting the link polygon. And I'm just going to grab this whole area, this parking lot. And again, every time I click, I'm creating a new corner. And double click to finish. If I like it, then I can continue and hit save. And now we have our third lot location, which is annex terminal. Okay, so now we've got three. We've got our, we've also got our central hub. That's enough for us to keep going. We'll go ahead to the next step. And I want to show you just real quick the view sections and just talk a little bit about what goes into a parking lot in terms of the section edit. Now, you'll notice just a couple of differences. If you're a StreetSaver Pro and you're used to seeing the roads version of the section edit form, then you might pick up on just a couple of subtle differences. The first is there's no lanes field. When you're dealing with the road, lanes is a required field. It's usually kind of over here by the lot location above area. And that's not needed when you were dealing with parking lots. Second is we have the functional class is grayed out. and it's telling you why. It says functional class is disabled and is tied to the selected parking lot type. And what that means is that, like right now, I have ETR, entrance truck route, and the functional class is set to arterial. Well, these two values are coupled. So if I edit my parking lot type, so let's go to non-truck route, for example, non-truck route entrance. Now it's switched to collector. It's giving you a warning that it's been switched. And you'll see that consistently as we go through creating management sections. Now, as far as StreetSaver is concerned, anytime you define a parking lot type value on a section you're creating or on an existing section, it's going to consider that a parking lot. So that's that's like the key attribute is parking lot type. That becomes very important with regards to if you're in the mixed mode where you have your roads and your lots together. So any sections that have parking lot type defined will be considered a parking lot in the system. So that's kind of shows you the differences on section edit with relation to the parking lot module. We're gonna, we'll see a little bit of this in action when we create some. I'm gonna go ahead and cancel out of this. I don't wanna save my changes. And we're gonna jump to another new screen. So when you have parking lots, you saw that we have the lot location screen. That's a new screen that you don't usually see in the roads. And then in GIS Toolbox, we have another new screen, which is called Parking Lot Link. Now, again, those of you who are in StreetSaver roads and pavement, you will recognize this because there's a section link screen for roads. So parking lots have their own link screen. So let's go ahead and go to it. And right off the bat, on the left, just how the screen is organized, you can see we have StreetSaver section data, and we just have our one section, which is showing there on the map. And then we've got our toolbar across the top. And this is great because you can see right away the same kind of zoom twos that we have. So I can say, you know, zoom to central, and it's going to show me the central. And if we want to see those, we just have to pop them up here on the legend. So here's central. And then if I also want to see lot locations, I can enable that so I can see my lot locations as well. Okay, so once I have, if I've zoomed to where I want, this is fantastic when you've got a large extent, like I said, over really big, in a very big region, then you will be able to jump to it quickly. And once you are in there, if the area is very large, depending on how large your area ID, in this case it's not that large, I can use the lots drop down and I can jump straight to the lot location that I want to sectionalize. Okay, so this jumps me to my main terminal, which we defined. And now I can start the work of creating management sections out of these large parking lot locations. I'm going to go ahead and hide the lot location, and I'll just do the area ID as well. So we don't have any confusion while we're drawing. Okay, so I'm going to start up here and we'll just go through the process. We'll create a couple of management sections out of this lot location. Again, we're on main terminal 002. So the first step is let's select a lot to create a new section. All right, well, I want to do that. Okay, so what you'll notice now I've got a drop down for my lot type. What do I need to select here? I'm going to do the entrance, and it's a non-truck route entrance. So I'll go ahead and select that, and now I'm ready to draw. So I'm going to select the polygon, and I'm just going to start drawing here. And you can be as precise as you want to be, and I actually recommend being precise because the what StreetSaver is going to do is it's going to take this polygon and it's going to use it to determine the area for the management section, which is great since we're not going to have, you know, often with these various shapes, you're not going to have a straight up rectangle for area where you have, you know, just width and length. But it's going to calculate it. You'll end up with a width and length value, but it's not uniform across the entire area. So now that I've drawn my shape, that looks pretty good. I don't need to clear it and redraw it. I'll go ahead and save that. And then it's going to pop up the section edit screen for me. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in main terminal. We'll do 001. And this is going to be the beginning location at our main entrance, and it's going to go all the way to the middle of the main entrance. And you'll notice that my parking lot type is populated for me based on my selection. The functional class is set accordingly, and I have my some length and width values that give me my area. So the last thing we need to do is we need to set our date value, and we will go ahead and do April 28th, 2010. And oh, good thing I checked. I forgot to set my surface type. So in this case, we'll do AC. One quick review here, and as you guys know, for those of you who are familiar with StreetSaver, anytime we see these green fields, we know that those are required. So that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and save and close. And now we've got main term 001, which is great. And it's showing us there on the map. So a couple of tips and tricks when you're creating management sections. We'll go ahead and do another one here, and I'll go over a couple of them. We have low utilization parking areas, the one I'm going to pick for this one. Or excuse me, high, since it's right on the main entrance here. And we're going to do this little section down here. And I'm going to go ahead and, so this is what's great about the polygon tool. Watch what I'm doing here. I'm just going to click as I'm going along the Bing overlay. I'm going to go around some of these islands and select the various spots that I want to kind of do a corner on. Okay, so I'm satisfied with that one. I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and we're going to get right back here to our create section screen. So we'll keep the same lot ID that we've got going on. We'll go ahead and do 002. And then it starts at the main entrance. We'll just keep going with what we've got. Actually, we could say it ends at main term 001. And then still AC. And here's just a tip. A lot of times it's hard to determine the originally constructed date. And usually what you want to do is, you know, your best guess when infrastructure was added and do a default date. And so once you've settled on that, can be consistent with it throughout the process of sectionalizing the parking lot or the road for that matter. So I'm going to keep with my originally constructed date of 4/28/2010. Did I get everything? Looks good. Notice our functional class is set to residential local based on the parking lot type. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save and close. And now we have our second lot location. Okay, so let's do just one more, just for repetition. And as you can see, since we don't have rectangles on this particular lot, the polygon tool is just fantastic for building these. And we're going to say this is also high utilization, and select our polygon tool again. And this is going to be up to you as far as your maintenance practices and how you want to sectionalize these. I'm going to do a fairly large section here, and some of you pavement engineers in the audience might be going, no, not that big, or that's too small. I don't know. But look at, as I click, I can get real precise and create some nice curvature if I need to with the polygon tool. You just have to click more often. I'm not an artist or anything, so doing my best here. But it's got quite a bit of functionality for being able to draw. And you can actually do multiple polygons as well. So if you have like a donut situation or some type of island in the way, you can do that as well. Okay, so if I were doing this in real life, I'd probably clear and do that again just to get this sliver covered here. So, but for our purposes, we can go ahead and continue. And we will do 003, and we'll do the same. Okay. All right, and then we're just going to do our 2010 date, following that kind of that best practice of sticking with the default once you've determined what you're going to do there, when you don't know the real constructed date. And that is, once you start getting inspection data and treatment data added in for the lots, then it becomes less critical what that date of original construction is. Okay, so go ahead and save and close. Okay, so now we've got the beginnings of our lot location defined. And you would continue along the same lines with this process. We might do another entrance right here, and then we might divide this very large lot into several different sections, accordingly. But this gives you the workflow. Now, I want to show you a screen we've been developing. It's not completely done yet, but it is really nifty for when you're out in the field doing this. And I say that because the web app and the parking lot module, I mean, you can load this, let's say, on an internet-enabled tablet or iPad, and you can come to this screen and you can literally be in the field creating your inventory, walking the parking lot and creating it as you go. And while you're there, you can also do an inspection. So let's say I come here for our first one, the 001, and I hit create inspection units. And one of the things that you'll notice is this inspection screen looks a little bit different than the traditional one in StreetSaver. This is a special kind of create inspection for the parking lot module. And what it allows you to do is kind of collect inspection data in more of a line item way, like you would when you're actually there doing it. So for example, if I had some high severity alligator cracking, and I added over here, let's say I had, this is our entrance, let's say I had some rutting and depression, not too bad, but just in the tread, we'll call it medium. And then you'll notice as I'm adding these, I'm getting my distress queue over here on the right. And if I'm still walking and doing my inspection, and I see some more high severity alligator cracking, I can come in here and I can add it. Okay, so now you'll notice in my list, I've got 2 instances of high severity alligator cracking. So it lets you collect the inspection data as you're finding it, as opposed to having to enter it into StreetSaver all added together, where all your distress types and severity types are combined. Okay. The standard approach, you can see up here along the top, we have our inspection date, inspection number, length, area, etc. And StreetSaver is telling us that only 1 sample unit is recommended for this section, and the inspection width is 15 feet. So again, this isn't completely done, it's in development, but I just wanted to give you a sneak peek of it and show you. Now I switched over to the preview inspection tab. Our preview PCI is still being implemented, so this will show you the last calculated and then the projected PCI based on your inspection or distress data that you're entering, but it's just showing default data for right now. But you'll notice over here on our combined distresses, we have our alligator cracking. It adds it together for you, which is fantastic. We can go ahead and save. And now you'll notice that it has changed. Once you save it, it takes those individual distress items and combines them all. Now our alligator cracking can only be edited in the aggregate of everything that we had for it. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. But that's fantastic because it lets, if you have a field technician again out in the field creating the inventory, they can immediately start doing an inspection, and you kind of start off right from the get-go with a PCI and your current conditions. And so it's a real fast way for jump-starting the process of building your inventory and analysis. Okay, you can also create treatments. Let's see, we had a constructed date of 2010. I'll go ahead and say, let's say in 2017, we did a slurry seal. Perfect. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Oh shoot, what did I say? I think it was 2017. That's fine. Okay, slurry seal, and we'll go ahead and save and close. Okay, and the reason I wanted to do that is just so that we can get some PCI data for our roads. So I'm going to go ahead and select our slurry seals and calculate. Let that run. And then we'll also go and run our inspection calculation. Well, that report is loading. I'm going to get over here. And we'll just update with this one. We won't look at the report, but as you know, you get the same PCI calculation summary report. And it's putting us at an 89. Okay. Okay, so now, now we have all of our, well, not all of our, but we have a nice little sample set of our inspection data, or our parking lot data. And on GIS reporting, we can actually bring up this info, and we can take a look, and we can get a current PCI feature of our parking lots. So obviously, this has a pretty severe inspection on it, and the PCI is real low. Our other ones had some M&R on it, and so they're showing that they're in good shape. That gives you just an idea of what you can do reporting wise. And I want to take the opportunity to kind of highlight that this is the benefit of the parking lot module is kind of what you're seeing here is everything that you can do with roads and the road inventory, you can do with your parking lots. So obviously you're tracking inventory, you're doing inspections, maintenance, treatments, and therefore you have PCI, and therefore you can use the budgeting tools. So we can run a budget needs analysis on our parking lots. We can do funding strategies using create scenarios. We can do a whole number of things. You know, all the things that you can do with your pavement. And I'll show some budgeting stuff here when we get to the mixed mode. I just want to highlight, just point that out. The whole suite of reports, everything is available to you with the parking lot module that you are used to with your roads as far as the tools and features that StreetSaver offers. So that's great. Okay, I want to pause here and give an opportunity for Jose to jump in. And I think we have a poll question and
yeah, we definitely do. Thank you so much, Jason. So that poll question is on the screen there. And actually, during this poll question, Jason, I do have a few questions that you might be able to kind of explain a little bit more. The first one being is, what if the construction date is unknown?
Sure. So I covered that briefly. You're going to do your best guess at when the infrastructure was added, and then you're going to be consistent with that date. And then that becomes less important as treatments and inspections are done. For example, the first overlay, it's going to get a new constructed date at the time of the overlay, for example. So that's the best practice there is you settle on a reliable default date and move forward with that consistently.
All right, and here's another question real quick, Jason. It looks like you might have touched on this as well, but view sections parking lot is length and width, just generic rectangle X and Y dimensions to get the desired area. In the instance that you don't have a rectangular lot. So that was what you were explaining with the vertices. I believe you would be able to do circular lots or anything, basically any shapes with that with that tool. Is that correct, Jason?
Right, and so the area, you're correct in Alan in terms of, I think that was from Alan, in terms of how the area, the geometry of the polygon you created, all the math is kind of done for you, but the length and width values for the odd polygon shape are just what's there to calculate the actual area. You really want to just pay attention to the area with your parking lots, since it's
all right.
likely
thank you guys so much. I'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that, Jason.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank everyone for the poll, and I'll go ahead and share the results if you'd like to take a look at that. Do you currently have a strategy to maintain your parking lots? And guys, everyone will get the results of these polls, more importantly, a video of this webinar as well. So please be on the lookout for that email, and I'll go ahead and close the poll. So thank you guys so much.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and move over to a mixed mode database. And so this is going to kind of show us some ideas around what is it like using the database where you have your parking lots and your roads in the same database. So what we're seeing here is the executive dashboard, obviously, but you'll notice something different if something caught your eye there. We do have a little drop down up here called the parking lot filter. And this is very helpful because right now we have it set to all pavement. And so what that means is that it's going to give us data based on both our roads and our lots. And you'll notice in our current PCI chart here in the middle that I'm mousing over, in the selection, it's not just functional class, it's also lot type. And what that means is it's going to break out your parking lots in the category list here. And instead of saying their functional class, it's going to give you their lot type and the PCI associated with those sections that use that lot type. And then your roads will all be represented as their functional class values. So that's one way where when it's all pavement, what you see. So, okay, if I go to streets only, now the dashboard is going to be filtered just with my roads. And you'll notice what I just described there. Now we can only select by, functional class. It's not breaking anything out by lot type because it's just our roads. And this is giving our weighted network average PCI of the streets only. That applies to all of these charts. I can then also filter it and just get this data for my parking lots. So I have I only have like 2 or 3 parking lots in this particular mixed mode database, but this gives you a good representation of what you can do with the executive dashboard with this new parking lot filters feature. So let me jump to view sections. And we added that drop down and we added it here on view sections as well, because it's just a quick way to do a roads only or lots only filter. We do have other filtering capabilities that I'll show you, but this is just for a quick click, right? So if I was on view sections and I'm like, I don't want to search through this list, I can just quickly jump to just my lots. And there I've got my, my parking lots set up. Okay, so when you're in mixed mode like this, one other difference that you will see is because we have both roads and lots, we see the street names and the lot location screen. And of course, street names is pretty standard. One difference, and this is very helpful for, okay, in the case where you have an existing streets inventory and you've signed up, you want to add the parking lots module and you want to start adding parking lots, and let's say you had already had them in here, or somebody got confused and entered a parking lot in street names on accident, you can actually select one of these and there's a little button here that will change it to a lot location instead of a street name. That button is also available on the lot location screen, and that can kind of rescue you if you made a mistake. You can kind of move them back and forth, shuffle them around a little bit. So so that's the point there, is that you are able to manage these differently. And the big difference with lot locations over street names is that when you're on dealing with lots, you are able to come in and you have a GPS button where you can come in and define a lot location. So that's one difference. And then when you're looking at the GIS toolbox, of course, then you see that you've got the full list of GIS screens that you're accustomed to when you have a custom integration, where you see GIS reporting, section link, that's for your roads, your linking of your roads data to your shapefile, and then GIS updates, which lets you, of course, update your shapefile. What's great when you're in mixed mode is, I can do, if I just say, give me everything. So here's all my roads, and then kind of hidden down in here are my parking lots. Let's go ahead and do, try current PCI. Okay, so here's current PCI. So I can get a map of a current PCI map of my roads and my parking lots. They work seamlessly together on the GIS reporting screen. And I wanted to show you kind of a couple of tricks here for, if let's say you don't want to see that. I can hide For example, I can hide my lot location. That's just a layer. I can get rid of that. But what about my actual sections? Because it's considering these as, you know, in the current PCI feature. So we added a filter item, and this is going to be consistent throughout the system. So for, you know, reporting and analysis, etc. It's called parking lot, real simple. And it's just a true false value. So if I want to eliminate all of my parking lots from a map, I just quickly apply a filter, and now I'm just seeing my roads. Similarly, in the budget analysis, let's say we want to do a parking lot funding scenario. So by default, our parking or our budget scenarios calculation or our target driven scenarios calculation, they both apply in this case, is going to run on the whole network. So let's say I have, since this is a demo, we'll do $200 million. That'll be fantastic. Everybody wishes, right? So let's go into, we'll say 15% and 1%. And then when I come down here, if I do nothing, it's going to run on everything. It's roads and parking lots. So you would just come in, same thing like we did on, I'm going to hit P and jump to parking lot. Perfect. And I'm going to say where parking lots is true. So now when I run this analysis, it's only going to run on my parking lots. And we'll go ahead and save and close. So then I've got a parking lot budget scenario here now that I can, you know, run and look at. Just like you would normally do with roads. It really integrates seamlessly. It's very smooth in that regard. I can go to the report section, and let's say a real popular, probably the most popular report is network summary statistics. Let's go ahead and run that. Close that guy. Okay, so this is going to include everything. But if I want to just exclude my parking lots, then I can come in here, same thing, except in this case, I'm going to do false. I don't want my parking lots included in this. And now it's going to give me the results based just on my roads. So this is how we would do that. The integration, as I mentioned, is very seamless, especially, I mean, we're talking about everything that you have on your management sections for your roads is also happening for your parking lots. So for example, if I come here and select 002, and I can jump over and look at the event history, and it's all tracked there just like I'm accustomed to with my roads. And you end up with a more complete picture when you're looking at your costs and future needs, and you're able to really, when you don't want it, when you don't want it mixed, you can separate it pretty easily, and when you do want it mixed, you can get that information out as well. So let me make sure. I think we've got one more poll question here from Jose, so I'll pause for a moment, and then Jose, if there's any questions, we can have a Q&A time as well, and go over that.
All right, thank you, Jason. And definitely we have this poll question here, my personal favorite. What type of webinar would you like to see in the future? So folks, please let us know what type of content you're wanting to see from StreetSaver. Again, we do these webinars for you guys. We want them to be informative and helpful. And Jason, we do have a few questions. Some of them kind of coincide with each other, but there's this one here. When you convert from street to lot location, it asks what type of lot it is, like high use or entrance. If that's true, what is the best way to answer that if you haven't created sections yet?
So if I understood that correctly, we're talking about how do you choose the right lot type? Um, so as far as whether it's high use or low use, if you don't have any traffic data to base it off of, then you're going to have to make that decision based on what is the lot, servicing. Is it, close to the front door? Is it really far away from the entrance and the front door? Type of a thing. You'd start looking at those types of things. As far as the entrance, like the driveways and those types of things, the real distinction that's made there is it a truck route or a non-truck route? And that's really important, especially considering the damage that can happen from, load-related distresses. You're probably going to see more high severity, alligator cracking, for example, when you're dealing with a truck route. So you would have to do that. In the long run, if it's really tough to decide, then you could always reach out to MTC as well for guidance and get some best practices for sure.
All right, thank you, Jason. And one more here for you. What is the max square footage per inspection?
Great, that's a great question. So the max square footage for inspections is going to follow the same rules. Actually, let me think about that for a second, Sherry. That is a very good question. I'd have to go actually review that a little bit to see if the rules are a little bit different for the parking lot. The typical rule is you can do 100% inspection. I know that you can do that with your parking lots. You can do there's a little bit of a variance there, like, plus or minus a little bit that'll let it go through. And typically you have to be between, if you're not at 100%, you have to be between 1,000 and 4,000 square feet on your inspection unit. So you can do, if you try and do an inspection unit of greater area than that, it's probably going to ding you and block you.
All right, and on here, just one more for you, Jason. I definitely like this question, is how do you deal with parking garages?
Interesting. I have not faced that particular question before. So the thing that I would refer you probably to MTC on answering that one. I am not sure what to do there with parking lot garages as far as treatments. So you can overlap, as far as the software is concerned, you can overlap your polygons, meaning you can draw a polygon on top of a polygon on top of a polygon. So you could potentially do your floors that way. But I think on that one, I'm going to hold off, and I'd want to have a discussion with MTC and pavement engineers on the best approach for that. So we may follow up with a answer to you on that on the side.
Mm-hmm. And on here, Jason, it looks like we do have some answers. We have Roger Smith and Charlene Dunn as well in here, and it looks like they do have some more information on that. So, Jason, if you see Roger and Charlene's answer there, that might be able to convey that to the.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, thank you, Roger. I see your response there. Roger's letting us know that parking garages are structures and they need to be analyzed by a structural engineer, not a pavement management system. That's excellent. Thank you, Roger. I appreciate that. I do see another question for does your report show exclusion of parking lots footnote? Yes, so let me show you that on our reporting screen. And Let's go back to our network summary statistics, and I'll go ahead and do parking lot equals false, and we'll run it. So then on all of the reports, anytime you have a filter applied down in the footer, it's going to tell you what the filter was. And that's true whether it's related to parking lots or not. So if you ever want to know, if you're looking at a report, if anything was filtered out, just look down at the bottom footer, and that's where you can get that information. Okay.
And on here, Jason, I got this question that I believe I missed earlier, but when you change from street functional class to parking lot category, does the history follow the section?
Yes, so the events history is maintained. So if you add a parking lot type, then that's an attribute change, and the events history will still be maintained. So if you had done an overlay or a slurry seal or inspection data, that'll still be there. I did see.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jason.
Yep. Did we get the other one answered there as far as the?
So I answered it on the Q&A, but if you want to go over it, Jason, it's still on there. Are you referring to the on-street question?
Yes. Yeah, so with regards to on-street parking, that MTC recommends that that's just part of your section width, not a parking lot itself. So that's how I would cover that. Do we have any others?
That's going to be all the questions. That's going to be it.
Great. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and pass it here to Jose for bringing the webinar to a close. I'm sure he's got some information on the parking lot module and what steps are needed for purchasing it and what you can expect with regard to that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Jason. So like Jason mentioned, first of all, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. In that follow-up email, there will be the recorded webinar once that uploads, as well as pricing information. If this is something you would like to demo, we can also demo on your live database. Is that something we can still do, Jason, to where we set them up with a demo so they can kind of play around with the parking lots module from their database?
Yes, we can definitely do that, enable a little temporary demo for you guys to be able to work and add some parking lots.
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in that, just follow up with that email that you'll all be receiving here later on today. And please be on the lookout for future blast emails and updates through StreetSaver. We try to develop and generate the most content that we can for you guys to kind of add some value to your StreetSaver subscription. We will be having a fall user week at the end of the year, so be on the lookout for that. If you've never been, or if this is your first time hearing about the user week, it's basically a few days where we cover various topics, and really it's a great way to grow your StreetSaver knowledge and proficiency. So please be on the lookout for that email announcing that registration has opened for you guys. But really, thank you guys so much again for joining us today. I hope everyone has a great day, and I look forward to seeing everyone at our next webinar. Thank you guys so much.